season, at least for the large caps. And it's kind of the moment of truth, too. What are the five most important earnings charts you should be watching this very important week? I picked out the five that I think you should be paying attention to. Let's see what they are. So the first one out of the gate is Microsoft, ticker MSFT. I own it in my own personal portfolio, and I'm sure many of you do too. Look at this earnings surprise track record. You wouldn't really know that there was a pandemic in there by looking at this fantastic chart. But the shares have weakened here in 2022, down 11% year to date, and the shares are no longer all that cheap, trading at 29 times forward earnings. Can it keep up this pace of beating, and will the street continue to pay this high multiple for Microsoft's earnings and revenues? I don't know. This is one of the big question marks this week, and that's why it's one of the most important earnings charts of the week. So you're going to want to tune in to Microsoft this week to see what's the end result going to be. Will it break down some more here, or will it rally? We will see. Then we're going to switch over to the auto retailers, or no, the auto just manufacturers, General Motors, ticker GM. And this one is important because they have big business over in China. What's happening over there with the COVID lockdowns going on? We know it's not that great, but first quarter might not have been as impacted as what they're seeing right now. But General Motors has put together a very nice earnings surprise track record here, also considering there was a global pandemic there hitting in 2020, and it's still ongoing. But these shares are now cheap after this year's sell-off, now down 25% year to date. And the PE just about 6 times here. So we got cheapness, but we got a lot of challenges. Inflation is biting, labor costs rising, COVID in China, and the semiconductor shortage. Let's not forget about that. So this is definitely one you want to tune into on the automakers. Then we're going to switch over to energy, and I put Matador Resources on this list. You may never have heard of them. MTDR is the ticker, and look at that. They have not missed either in the last 5 years. That's really impressive for an oil company because they weren't doing too hot as far as the meets and beats prior to the pandemic, and certainly during the pandemic. But Matador has been beating with big beats during this time period. And as you can see, the shares, like all energy stocks, are up big over the last 2 years, and certainly here in 2022, up 33%, even though they've traded down a little bit off of their recent 5-year highs, trading with a PE of just 5.6. Now, why did I choose Matador to put on this list? Well, because they are the first of the explorers and producers to report. We've seen some of the services with Schlumberger and Halliburton, but we haven't had any of the E&Ps, as they're so-called, report yet. Matador is the first that I saw on the chart reporting. So this is going to be a key one to watch. How much free cash flow did they make in the first quarter with WTI over $100 a barrel for most of that quarter? I don't know. We're about to find out. So that's why you want to tune in to Matador. Then we're going to switch back to tech and big tech again with Apple. I really couldn't keep it off this list, right? If Microsoft is on it, Apple must be too. It too has the great earnings surprise track record, no misses in 5 years. So impressive from these big tech companies. But Apple hasn't pulled back quite as much as Microsoft here in 2022, down just about 10% here, even though Microsoft down 11, but it was down 12% in that bigger dip there in March. And it's unclear if we're going to test that or if it's going to bounce off. Now, it too is not cheap here, trading at 26 times with single-digit revenue and earnings growth expected. So are investors willing to pay up to stay in Apple and even Microsoft here with these high valuations, kind of as a safety play maybe? I don't know. So far this year, they have been willing to pay up. But will they be going forward? That's the big question. So, of course, this is one of the most important earnings charts. We'll all be tuning in. Then finishing up the week with some more energy, but this time big oil. Both Exxon and Chevron expected a report on Friday, and Chevron is the one I chose. It is coming off a miss last quarter. This is what makes Matador's track record even more impressive. You can see that this is much more the norm to have some misses in there for these energy companies, certainly during the year the pandemic first hit in 2020, but even more recently, they've had some misses in there. But the shares continue to surge on both natural gas and oil prices rising. Year to date, these shares are up 32%, kind of stalled out here, waiting for a catalyst, trading at just 9.8 times forward earnings. As those earnings are on the rise, I'm expecting big free cash flows as well from Chevron, just like with Matador and the other energy stocks. So you can tune in to either Chevron or Exxon. They're both going to report before the bell on Friday. So we'll be getting those reports about the same time. But the energy trade is definitely up there with big tech as the place to watch and the most important earnings charts this week. So this is going to be one of the most exciting earnings weeks of this earnings season. I know we're all waiting for all these big cap companies to report, and you're going to get them all. I'll be tweeting out a lot more charts than just what I gave you in this video. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, at Tracy Reineck on Twitter. You'll get all the charts there. And as always, I'm going to keep bringing you more videos as we go along this earnings season. Be sure to subscribe to get them all at Zacks.com/YouTube. And I'll see you again next time with some more earnings charts.